ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजम्। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृतिं कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन्। हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरधाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നിരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഇതിനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറും രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. It was good to see some of you there last week for the Parayanam. For those who missed, we have another one coming in May. I'll post once I get the flyer ready. Okay, so we'll do a review of 57. Gayatri, can you do 57?
प्रलम्बासुर वध वर्णनम् रामसख क्वापि दिने कामद भगवन् गतो भगवन् विपिनं सुनूभिरपि गोपानां धेनुभिरपि बिरभि संवृतो लसद्वेषः
The first line,
सन्
the end of the last is Bhavan Vipinam, not Bhagavan. Bhavan.
भवान् विपिनं sorry सन्दर्शयन् बलाय स्वैरं वृन्दावन वृन्दावनश्रियं विमलां काण्डीरैः सह बालैः भाण्डीरक रका भाण्डीरकमागमो वटं क्रीडन् तावक स्पृहाय निधन स्पृह हयालु
Lalur.
स्पृह हयालुगुर् गोपमूर्तिर्दयालुः दैत्यः प्रलम्ब बाहुं मोपेदे
Bhavantam Apede.
भवन्तम् आपेदे ओके जाननन्नप्यविजानननिव तेन समं निबद्ध सौहार्दः वटनिकटे पशु पशुपव्यबद्धः बद्धं द्वन्द्व युद्ध
Dvandva Yuddham.
द्वन्द्व युद्धमाराब्धः गोपान् विभजय तन्वन् संगं बलभद्रकं भवन्तकमपि त्वद्बलभीरं दैत्यं त्वद्बलगतम् त्वबलगतम् अन्वमन्यथा भगवन् कल्पित विजेतृवहने समरे पर्युत्थगं स्वदयी तत्तरं श्रीदामानम् अहदत्यः
Adhattaha. Adhattaha. Illa. Adhattaha.
अदत्तः पारिजातो भक्तदासतां प्रथयन्
Second line,
एवं
sorry. Parajito. Bhakta Dasatam.
पराजितो भक्तदासतां प्रथयन् एवं बहुषु विभूमन् बालेषु वहत्सु वाह्य मान्येषु रामविजितः प्रलम्भो जहारतं दूरतो भवद्भीत्या त्वद्दूरं गम्यन्तं तं दृष्ट्वा हलिनी विहित गरीम्भरे दैत्यस्वरूपमागात् यद्रूपात् स हि बलोऽपि चकितोऽभूत् उच्चतया तनोः त्वन्मुखमालोक्य दूरतो रामः विगद्भयोदृढमृष्टया दृष्टं सपदि पिष्टवानेनम्
Second line, first half. Bigata Bhayo Krida Mushtya.
वदने विगत
Bigata Bhayo.
भयो दृढ मुष्ट्या
Yeah.
वृष दृष्टं सपदि
Visha Dushtam. Do sound. Dushtam.
दुष्टं विगत भयो दृढ मृष्ट्या भृश दुष्टं सपदि पिष्टवानिनम्
Yeah.
हत्वा दानववीरं प्राप्तं बलमा आलीलिङ्गत प्रेमना युवयोः शिरसि कृता पुष्पवृष्टिर् अमरगणैः
Second line, just the one beginning. Tavan
Mm.
mi lathor. You said
Tavan,
mili, mil lathor.
tavan militor. Sorry,
Yeah.
militor,
Milathor.
Milato. Okay.
Milathor. Okay.
Tavan milato tor yuvayor. Okay. Alambo bhuvananam pralambam nidhanameva मारचयन् कालं विहाय सद्यो लोलम्बरुचे हरे हरे क्लेशान् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Continue with 58. Baiju, you can be a student, and Suganya, you can be a student. So 58, 59 are pretty small, the shakams. So the 58 is go, gopanam. So go is the cows, gopanam are the boys. Go, gopanam. Davagni, moksha varnanam. Davagni is forest fire. Moksha varnanam, rescuing them from the forest fire. Is that someone? त्वयि विहरणलोले बालजालैः प्रलम्ब प्रमथन सविलम्बे धेनवस्वैरचाराः तृणकुतुकनिविष्टा दूरदूरं चरन्त्यः किमपि विपिनमैषी काक्यमीशां बभूवुः. So we saw in the last class about this Pralamba Sura, like one person who had come as one of the Gopa boys, and then they were playing this Dvandva Yuddham. They were playing this wrestling match where the loser had to carry, and this Pralamba Sura ended up carrying Balarama very far away, and eventually Balarama was able to get rid of Pralamba Sura. So as the boys were doing that wrestling match, and then all of this incident was happening, the same day, the cows, because nobody was taking care of the cows were just grazing, and the cows ended up moving further ahead, right, from the place where they were all playing, and then it went into a forest called as Aishika. So that's when the last line, Kimapi Vipinam Aishi Kakyamisha. So a place called Aishika, that's one portion of the forest, that's all, the extended portion of the forest. The cows ended up grazing over into that place. Tvai Biharana Lole Balajalehi, put a comma there. Pralamba, then put a plus. Pralamba Pramathana Savilambe. Dhenavaha, put a is. Dhenavas Swaira Charaha. Trina Kutuka Nivishta. Dura Duram Charantyaha, comma. Kimapi Vipinam, breaking at that ma. Vipinam Aishi Kakyam. So up to that's one long word. Aishi Kakyam Isham Bhabuvuhu. त्वयि विहरणलोले बालजालैः प्रलम्ब प्रमथन सविलम्बे धेनवस्वैरचाराः तृणकुतुकनिविष्टा दूरदूरं चरन्त्यः किमपि विपिनमैषी काक्यमीशां बभूवुः.
त्वयि विहरणलोले बालजालैः प्रलम्ब प्रमथनसविलम्बे धेनवस्वैरचाराः तृणकुतुकनिविष्टा दूरदूरं चरन्त्यः किमपि विपिनमैषी काक्यमीशां बभूवुः. त्वयि विहरणलोले बालजालैः प्रलम्ब प्रमथनसविलम्बे धेनवस्वैरचाराः तृणकुतुकनिविष्टा दूरदूरं चरन्त्यः किमपि विपिनमैषी काक्यमीशां बभूवुः.
त्वयि विहरणलोले बालजालै प्रलम्ब प्रमदन सविलम्बे देनवश्वैरचाराः तृणकुतुकनिविष्टा दूरदूरं सरन्त्यः किमविबि किम किम किमबिवि बिनैमैषैकाक्यमीशां बभूवुः.
The first
त्वयि
first line, Sugandha, Balajalaihi. And the he sound will come after the pause, okay?
द्वै विहरणलोले बालजालैः प्रलम्बप्रबदन सविलम्बे देनवः स्वैरचारः तृणाकुदुग निविष्ट दूरदूरं सान्ध्यः किमपि विनैमैषिकाख्यमीशां बभूवुः.
Third line, last word, charantyah.
चरन्त्यः. Okay.
Answer 2. अनधिगतनिधाग क्रौर्य वृन्दावनान्तात् बहिरिदमुपयाताः काननं धेनवस्ताः तव विरहविषण्णाः ऊष्मलग्रीष्मताप प्रसरविसरदम्बस्याकुलास्तम्भमापुः. So that place, Aishika, that forest which they end up going, it's got a different type of grass. The only reason they're saying it's got a different type of grass is it is very easily prone to catching forest fire. And it was like peak summertime anyway. So because the cows just ended up grazing away from that Yamuna, from that area where they normally go. And it was intense heat that day. And the cows, they were also getting very tired and thirsty and hungry and everything. And so they just got lost. Normally they have a sense of direction, but at this point they were just getting lost, right? And then they ended up standing there. And then they saw that there was that grass which was there, ended up catching fire. So the cows had wandered very far away from where the boys are. Anadhigata nidhaga kraurya brindavanantat, comma, bahiridam, just breaking at that ma, bahiridam upayataha, put a ih to join, upayatah, kananam dhenavastaha, tava biraha vishannaha. So add a visarga there and put a comma. You may not have it. Viraha vishannaha, comma. Ushmala grishma tapa, put a plus. Prasara visaradambasyakula. So that word is a long word. You cannot break it too much. So visaradambasyakulaha, put a is to join. Ambasyakula stambamapuhu. So this word viraha is going to come in a couple of places. The meaning of viraha is separation, right? But it will come in different contexts. Anyway, here the thing is the cows are separated, so the cows are getting very upset about it, and then they're just standing, very motionless. Stamba mapuhu. Stamba means standing like a pillar, standing in a very motionless manner because they're lost.
Rajeshji, on the fourth line, Dambasya ha visarga
And the yakula ha will take the is sound. So stambhas yakulas stamba mapuhu. So S to join.
Thank you.
And Rajeshji, third, sorry,
sorry.
Rajeshji, third and fourth line, comma, still
ஆமா
together.
அந்த விரக விஷன்னாஹா அதுக்கப்புறம் there is a comma விஷன்னாஹாக்கு அப்புறம் அதுக்கப்புறம் the rest of the two lines go together.
Okay.
अनधिगत निदाघ क्रौर्य वृन्दावनान्तात् बहिरिदमुपयाताः काननं धेनवस्ताः तव विरह विषण्णाः ऊष्मल ग्रीष्मताप प्रसर विसरदम्बस्याकुलास्तम्भमापुः.
अनधिगतनिताक क्रौर्यवृन्दावनान्तात् बहिरितमुपयाता काननं देनवस्ताः तव विरहविषण्णाः ऊष्मलग्रीष्मतापप्रसरविसरदम्बस्याकुलास्तम्भमापुः. अनधिगतनिताक क्रौर्यवृन्दावनान्तात् बहिरितमुपयाता काननं देनवस्ताः तव विरहविषण्णाः ऊष्मलग्रीष्मतापप्रसरविसरदम्बस्याकुलास्तम्भमापुः.
अनधिगतनिदाक्रव्य वृन्दावनादात् बहिरिदम् उपयादाः काननं देनवस्ताः दव बृहविषण्णाः ऊष्मलग्रीष्मतापप्रसरविशरदम्बाशाकुलाः स्तम्भमापु.
स्तम्भमापुः.
स्तम्भमापुः.
அதே மாதிரி second line தேனவஸ்தாஹ. There's a visarga at the end. Okay, second line.
Okay. अनदि कदा निदा क्रव्य वृन्दावनादात् बहिर्दम् उपयादाः काहनं देनवस्ताः दवव्रहव्रहन्नाः ऊष्मलक्रीष्मदाब प्रशर विशरदं बश्याकुलाः स्तम्भमाबुः.
That's the three. तदनु सहसहायैर्दूरम् अन्विष्य शौरे गलितसरणिमुञ्जारण्यसञ्जातखेदम् पशुकुलमभिवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणेतुमारात् त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे. So now the boys, coming back to the boys, the cows are stuck there. The Gopa boys, after all the games, they suddenly see the cows are all missing. So they all feel very bad because that is their entire source of livelihood. They have completely lost where the cows went. But then they all know how to look. So they look at the footprints of the cows and they start tracing. And they start tracing to see where the cows went. And finally, they also end up into this forest. And the forest, they finally see the cows. The cows are happy to see the boys. But like I said, the previous stanza, the forest fire comes up, very similar to what it had come after the dance on Kalia, right? So in this case, they were in a forest, and then that whole area was just catching fire, and all these boys and the cows, they just felt like they were stuck in the middle of the forest fire with multiple of this, grasses rubbing each other, and then the fire catching that place. So they're now stuck in the middle of the forest fire. Tadanu saha sahayair दूरम अन्विष्य शौरे गलित सरणी मुंजारण्य संजात खेदम पशु कुलम अभिवीक्ष्य, you can break at that ma if you want, कुलम अभिवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रम आनेतुम आरात. So add a it at the end of that line. क्षिप्रम आनेतुम आरात, and then a comma, it. Next line, if you have a double it, one of them goes away. त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोग्निर जजृम्भे. So up to sarvatognir is one word. So sarvato agnir, but that S symbol is coming. So that word comes together. Sarvatognir jajrumbhe. Tadanu sahasahayer duramanvishya shaure galita sarani munjaranya sanjata khedam पशुकुलम अभिवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणे तुमारात त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे.
तदनु सहसहायैर्दूरमन्विष्य शौरे गलितसरणिमुञ्जारण्यसञ्जातकेथम् पशुकुलमभिवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणेतुमारात् त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे. तदनु सहसहायैर्दूरमन्विष्य शौरे गलितसरणिमुञ्जारण्यसञ्जातखेदम् पशुकुलमभिवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणेतुमारात् त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे.
ददनु सहसहायर्दूरमन्विष्य शौरगलितशरणिमुञ्जारण्यसञ्जातकेतं पशुकुलं विवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणेतुम् आरात् त्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे.
So Surinya, on the certain place, on the shaure kapram, there is a pause. And then Kshipramani tum arat, adukapram there is a pause.
तदनु सहसहायर्दूरमन्विष्य शौरे कलितशरणिमुञ्जारण्यसञ्जातखेदं पशुकुलं विवीक्ष्य क्षिप्रमाणेतुम् आरात् द्वयि गतवती हि सर्वतोऽग्निर्जृम्भे.
That's about. Sakala hariti deepte ghora bhankara bhime shikini bihata marga ardha dagda ivartaha ahaha bhuvana bandho pahi pahi ti sarve sharanam upagatastvam tapahartaramekam. So when they're all about to leave, getting the cows and about to go, then they suddenly get stuck in this forest fire. So that forest fire then begins to catch up in intensity. So there's no place anywhere they try to go. They feel like they're getting stuck in the middle of the fire and all the routes were blocked. So here they were all ardha dagda. They all were like half burnt because the intensity of the fire was so much that their body was actually getting burnt, like because of the heat outside plus the forest fire also that is there. So anytime we have a problem like this, the natural thing, the first thing for us is we try to escape or run or try to solve the things on our own, which is totally fine. But the boys here, they always have only one option. So they always go to Krishna because they're always with Krishna, right? And this is explained very beautifully in the next two stanzas. So they will just say, Krishna, pahi, pahi. So they all immediately rush to Krishna and say, you have to help us out, Krishna, because you helped us out so many times. In all of these different things that happened when we ended up going into the snake's mouth, when, we ended up drinking the poisonous water and all of these things. So Krishna, pahi, pahi, with that, you please help, and then they all rush to Krishna saying, you have to help us out because our body is getting burnt and we don't know how to escape from here. Sakala hariti deepte ghora bhankara bhime, and then put a plus. So the first two lines are going to be together. Bhime, shikhini bihata marga ardha dagdha ivartaha. So those two lines are together. Ahaha bhuvana bhando pahi pahiti sarve, comma, sharanam upagatas. I'm just breaking at that mother. Sharanam upagatas tvam tapa hartaram ekam. So we'll see. We're going to see in so many examples, right? We saw in Gajendra Moksham in 26. And then we're going to see later on in Draupadi Vastrapaharanam, and then now here, and then in so many other examples which are going to come. At some point, you have to do Sharanam. At some point, you have to fully surrender. Till the point you're fully surrendered, the help is not going to be available externally. It is all within your whatever you are able to. So here the boys also tried to go, but they couldn't. So at some point they're like, we are unable to bear this heat. So and then they come and offer their surrendering. Sakala hariti deepte ghora bhankara bhime shikini bihata marga ardha dagdha ivartaha ahah bhuvana bandho pahi pahiti sarve sharanam upagatastvam tapahartaramekam.
सकल हरिदि दीप्ते घोर भांकार भीमे शिकिनि विहत मार्ग अर्ध दग्धा इवार्ताः अहह भुवन बंधो पाहि पाहीति सर्वे शरणमुपगतास्त्वां तापहर्तारमेकम्. सकल हरिदि दीप्ते घोर भांकार भीमे शिकिनि विहत मार्ग अर्ध दग्धा इवार्ताः अहह भुवन बंधो पाहि पाहीति सर्वे शरणमुपगतास्त्वां तापहर्तारमेकम्.
शकल हरिदि दीप्ते घोर बांकार भीमे शहिनि विहद मार्गा अर्थदग्धा इवार्तः अहह भुवन बंधो बाहि बाहीदि सर्वे शरणम् उपगास्त्वां तापहर्तारमेहम्.
And third line, Sukanya, after survey, there is a pause. Okay, third line. And then the second line, at least in my book, first word is shikhini. Shikhini vihata.
Okay. शकल हरिदि दीप्ते घोर बांगार भीमे शीकिनि विहद मार्गा अर्थदग्धा इवातः अहह भुवन बंधो पाहि बाहीदि सर्वे शरणम् उपगास्त्वां दाबहर्तारमेहम्.
Sharanam upagatastvam, the word.
उपगतास्त्वाम्.
Oh, yeah. Sounds fine. Alam alamati bhitya sarvato milayadvam drishamiti tava vacha militakseshu teshu kwanu davadahano sau kutra munjata visa sapadi vavriti rete hanta bhandi radeshe. So anytime we have a problem and we go to somebody and say, you're my only hope, right? and you have to help me out. And that person says, just do it, just do what I'm saying. We'll be like, we'll always question that, saying, what do you mean? That will never work. That it doesn't even make sense. The logic you're saying doesn't make sense. It's not going to work. But that is what with Krishna, with each of the people who Krishna is going to interact with, like we keep telling, each of them have a different kind of relationship with Krishna. We saw the relationship that Yashoda has with Krishna through all the leelas that he has done. In between a few of these episodes are the relation these Gopa boys have. Later on, from 62, 63, the relationship with Gopikas is going to come. The relationship with Krishna and the Gopa boys is completely different. Here, like, they completely listen 100% to whatever Krishna says. They don't question what he says, right? So here they are all coming and saying, we're stuck in this forest fire. What do we do? And Krishna says, just close your eyes. Now, if he has told it to any of us adults, we will 100% not do, because we say, what do you mean? There's literally a forest fire coming and you're telling me to close my eyes. How can we do that? But that is a relationship the boys had with Krishna. So when Krishna tells them, close your eyes, they close their eyes, right? That's it. And then when Krishna says, open your eyes, they open their eyes. And when they open their eyes, Kutra Munjatavi. So, so wherever they had, first you remember, they had come to this forest in the stanza, the Aiksha is one, and then the second one that came was Munjata. That was the name, that's another name of the forest. So that forest was gone. They are no longer in that forest. And then they ended up in Hanta Bhandira Deshe. This word Bhandira came in Pralambasuras in the previous Dasakam, which says, Sandarshayan Balaya Swairam Vrindavanashriyam Vimalam Kandirai Saha Bandiraihi. That were playing in that Bandiraka forest. And then they came to this other forest. And Krishna says, close your eyes. They close their eyes. When he says open, they are transported back into the place that they originally were. So there was no fire. There was no the other forest that was there. Everything seemed to have disappeared, right? Or it is not there. They're back to it. So that was the trust and the faith the Gopa boys had. So each one has different kind of relationship. In this case, for the Gopa boys, their relationship was they really thought, I have a superhuman friend who is with me, which is what the next stanza is going to tell. And they just listened to that friend all the time. They did not think of him as God or any of that stuff, right? That was their relationship there. Alam alam ati bhitya sarvato milayadvam, then put a plus. Drishamiti tava vacha militaksheshu teshu. So those two lines together. Kwanu dava dahanosau kutra munjatavi sa, comma, sapadi vavrutire te hanta bhandira deshe. अलमलमतिभीत्या सर्वतो मीलयध्वं दृशमिति तव वाचा मीलिताक्षेषु तेषु क्वनु दवदहनोऽसौ कुत्र मुञ्जाटवीसा सपदि ववृतिरेते हन्त भाण्डीरदेशे.
अलमलं मतिभीत्या सर्वतो मीलयध्वं दृशमिति तव वाचा मीलिताक्षेषु तेषु कुनुदवदहनोऽसौ कुत्र मुञ्जाडवीसा सपति ववृतिरेते हन्दभाण्डीरदेशे. अलमलमतिभीत्या सर्वतो मीलयध्वं दृशमिति तव वाचा मीलिताक्षेषु तेषु कुनुदवदहनोऽसौ कुत्र मुञ्जाडवीसा सपति ववृतिरेते हन्दभाण्डीरदेशे.
अलं अलं मदिभीत्या सर्वतो मीलयत्वं दृश्यमिति दववाचा मीलिदाक्षेषु देषु क्वनु दवदहनोऽसौ कृत्र मुञ्जाडवीशा सबदि ववृत्रेते हन्त पाण्डीरदे देशे.
Deshe, Bhandira Deshe.
देशे अलमलं मदिभीत्या सर्वतो मीलयत्वं दृश्यमिति तव वाचा मीलिदाशेषु देषु क्वनु दवदहनोऽसौ कृत्र मुञ्जाडवीशा शबदि ववृत्रे दे हन्त भाण्डीरदे देशे.
And the last
Deshe.
word, Bhandira Deshe.
Bhandira Deshe.
That's a 6.
Deshe.
जय जय तव माया केयमीशेति तेषां नुतिभिरुदितहासो बद्धनानाविलासः पुनरपि विपिनान्ते प्राचरः पाटलादि प्रसव निकरमात्र ग्राह्य घर्मानुभावे. So, like we're telling, these boys, they just thought of Krishna purely as their friend. They did not know he's a God incarnation or anything. And they never thought because, initially when they saw all the powers that this boy had, they thought maybe he's like a demigod. Maybe he's got some godly powers. But then they're like, that's not possible. He's just like us. He's wearing the same clothes that we are having. He's doing the same activities. If somebody was a demigod or a god, why would they come and do what we are doing, right? So the boys are thinking he's just like another boy. So maybe we also have magic powers like this Krishna boy has, but maybe somehow that magic power is dormant in us, and for this person it is working. So that is pretty much that was their relationship with Krishna. They didn't think of anything beyond that, and they just thought him purely as a true friend. Because like we said earlier in 37, all of these are devas and other deva patnis who have rishi patnis who are incarnated in this time, right? To be around Krishna because they wanted to experience that devotion and friendship and love all in different ways. Because when you're worshipping, you have a sense of respect towards somebody, right? You're worshipping thinking, oh, this is Rama, this is Krishna, this is Shiva, and you have a sense of respect towards that god or goddess. But Krishna Avataram is teaching that you don't need to have that sense of respect. You just need to have some kind of a relationship with that Bhagavan, a very tight relationship, right? That relationship could be any kind of relationship, like what we're seeing with these boys. They just had thought of him as a friend, right? So anyway, so here, so when as this is happening, they continued, so they escaped from that heat. They all got back. So next few stanzas are just going to be how they're going to spend that time in Vrindavan in the various seasons. So with that, the summer which was actually there, they ended up spending the rest of the summer there in Vrindavan. Jaya Jaya Tava Maya Keyamisheti Tesham, then put a plus. Nuti Bhiru Ditahaso, it's one word, Nuti Bhiru Ditahaso, Baddha Nana Vilasaha. So those two lines are together. Punarapi Vipinante Pracharaha, put a F to join, Pracharah Pataladi, again put a plus. Prasava Nikara Matra Grahya Karmanubhave. Those two lines are also together. So 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4 together. Jaya Jaya Tava Maya Kehyamisheti Tesham Nutibhiruditaha So Baddhanana Vilasaha Punarapi Vipinante Pracharah Pataladi Prasava Nikaramatra Grahya Gharmanubhave.
जय जय तव माया केयमीशेति तेषां नुतिभिरुदितहासो बद्धनानाविलासः पुनरपि विपिनान्ते प्राजरः पाटलादिप्रसवनिकरमात्रग्राह्य घर्मानुभावे जय जय तव माया केयमीशेति तेषां नुतिभिरुदितहासो बद्धनानाविलासः पुनरपि विपिनान्ते प्राजरः पाटलादिप्रसवनिकरमात्रग्राह्य घर्मानुभावे
जय जय दव माया केयमीशेदि देशां दहासो पत्तनानाविलासाः पुनरपि विपिनान्ते प्राचर पाडलादिप्रसव निगरमात्रा ग्राह्य कर्मानुभावे जय जय दव माया केयमीशेदि देशां दहासो पत्तनानाविलासः पुनरपि विपिनान्ते प्राचरः पाडलादिप्रसव निगरमात्रग्राह्य कर्मानुभावे.
That's a 7. त्वयि विमुखमिवोच्चैस्तापभारं वहन्तं Tava bhajana vadantah pankamuchoshayantam Tava bhuja vadudanchad bhuri teja pravaham Tapasapayamanai yamuneshu staleshu. The next few stanzas are just going to talk about the various seasons. So it says that the heat that was there in Vrindavan area, which was actually there, it was Bhattaripad being a poet is just comparing, saying it is similar to the heat of passion and desire that we all carry, which is always there. We can never get rid of that heat, right? The only way we can get, so that if you compare all the desires we carry in our heart, that is inextinguishable, right? It's always there. So how do you extinguish it? You only extinguish it by being closer to Bhagavan. So similarly, in Vrindavan, that heat, the summer heat that was there was just so intense that the only way the Gopa boys and others were able to not feel the heat was because they were always around Krishna. Otherwise, the intensity of the heat was actually very much. It just talks about how they spent the summer. Next, they'll talk about how they spent the rainy season. But summer, they just spent being around Krishna all the time. And because of that, they did not feel the heat of Vrindavan as much. Twayi Vimukham, breaking at that ma, Vimukham Ivochais, Tapa Bharam Vahantam, comma, Tava Bhajana Badantaha, put a F to join, Badantaf, Pankam Uchoshayantam, breaking at that ma, Tava Bhuja Badudanchat, that's one word, Badudanchat, Bhuri Tejaf Pravaham, comma, Tapa Sapayam Anaishir, ear sound, Anaishir, Yamuneshu Sthaleshu. They also spent the time on the banks of Yamuna to keep themselves cool. Tvai vimukhamivochaistapa bharam vahantam Tava bhajana vadantah pankamuchoshayantam Tava bhuja vadudanchad bhuri tejah pravaham Tapasapayamaneishir yamuneshu sthaleshu.
Tui vimukha vimoche stapabharam vahandam Tava bhajana vadanda pangamuchosayandam Tava bhujavadudanjad bhuri teja pravaham Tapasamayamanaishir yamuneshu staleshu. Toi vimukha vimoche stapabharam vahandam Tava bhajana vadanda pangamuchosayandam Tava bhuja vadudanjad bhuri teja pravaham Tapasamayamanaishir yamuneshu staleshu.
Dvayi vimukham sorry.
Ivochais, yeah.
Dvayi vimugam ivochaistaba param vahantam Dava bhajana vadanta pangamuchoshayantam Dava bhuja vadutanjat puri dejah pravaham Dava samayamanaishir yamuneshu staleshu Dvayi vimukham ivochaistaba bharam vahantam Dava bhajana vadantah pangamuschosyantam Dava bhuja vadutanjat puri teja pravaham Dava samayamainaishir yamuneshu staleshu
8 and 9, I'll tell the meaning together. Tadanu Jalada Jalais Twadvapus Tulya Bhabihi. So add a visarga and comma there. Bhabihi. Next line beginning, if you have a ir, that goes away. Vikasad Amala Vidyut Pitavaso Vilasaihi. Sakala Bhuvana Bhajam Harshadam Varshavelam, comma, Kshitidhara Kuhareshu Swairavasi Vyanaishihi. Tadanu Jalada Jalais Twadvapustulya Bhabihi विकसदमल विद्युत्पीत वासो विलासैः सकल भुवन भाजां हर्षदां वर्षवेलां क्षितिधर कुहरेषु स्वैरवासी व्यनैषीः
तदनु जलदजाले स्तुत्वपुस्तुल्यभाभिः विकसदमलविद्युत्पीतवासो विलासैः सकलभुवनभाजां हर्षतां वर्षवेलां क्षितिधरकुहरेषु स्वैरवासी व्यनैषीः तदनु जलदजाले स्तुत्वभुस्तुल्यभाभिः विकसदमलविद्युत्पीतवासो विलासैः सकलभुवनभाजां हर्षदां वर्षवेलां क्षितिधरः कुहरेषु स्वैरवासी व्यनैषीः
तदनु जलतजालैस्त्वद्वपुस्तुल्यभाभिर्विगसदमलविद्युद्भीदवाशो विलासैः सकलभुवनाभाजां हर्षतां वर्षवेलां स्थितिधरकुहरेषु स्वैवरवाशी व्यनैषिः.
And the first line, Suganya, Bhabhir, you are saying that ir will go away, and that becomes a visarga, Bhabihi, and then a comma.
Okay.
Okay. And then the fourth line, first word on the Kshitidhara.
Stithidhara. Okay.
Kshitidhara Kuhari. Yeah.
Kshitidhara. ददनु जलतजालैस्त्वद्वपुस्तुल्यभाभिः विहसदमलविद्युत्पीतवासो विलासैः सकलभुवनाभाजां हर्षदां वर्षवेलां स्थितिधरकुहरेषु स्वैवरवाशी व्यनशैः
Vyanaishihi.
व्यनैषीः.
Sansanai. Kuharatala tvam garishtham girindrah shikikula navakeka kakubestotrakari sputa kutaja kadamba stoma pushpanjalim cha prabidhadadanubheje deva govardhano sau. We saw about the summer in 7. So the rainy season next is talked about in 8. So in Dasakam 38, Krishna Avataram, first stanza, it is Ananda Rupa Bhagavan Naite Avatarim, and Pataripa described that. He says, it was raining that day, the night that Krishna was born. It was raining, it resembled me of you, right? Which is exactly what he's saying here again. And that's what we should always, anytime you're driving and you see rain, a cloudy, dark gray clouds outside, which is raining, you immediately think of Krishna. That's one way you can always remember him. So here, that's what exactly he's saying. The dark gray clouds which were assembled up for the rainy season, it was just matching with your color, Krishna. And the lightning which was coming in between the clouds was matching with the pitambaram that you were actually wearing. So every time when people looked at it, they felt like they were looking at you when they were looking up at the skies. Now, how did they spend the rainy season? Because it is raining, but they still have to take the cows out to graze. So they always used to take it to the Govardhana mountains, because in the mountains, there are caves inside. So the boys could rest in the shelter of the caves, right? And of course, it's a fall season, rainy season, so the flowers are all falling. So here beautifully it is explained that just like how we have to imagine Bhagavan in our heart, and then we worship and we meditate on the Brahman, imagining in the heart, and then we offer flowers. Govardhana mountain was thinking that when Krishna is sitting in my caves, it is as if it is sitting in my heart. And then the way it is doing the archana is the trees are shedding the flowers for the fall season, and through that Govardhana was doing archana to you. So that's why it says Kadamba. So with the Kutaja, Kadamba, all these different flowers which were blooming in the Govardhana mountain. With that, it was doing Pushpanjali to you. It was offering those flowers as an archana to you. And then because you are situated in the cave of the mountain, it imagined that you are sitting in the heart, right? So that's why, like, very similar to Girivalam that we do in Tiruvannamalai, Govardhana is a very precious mountain, very religious, sacred place as well. And people also do the Girivalam around Govardhana mountain. That's why later on, Krishna is going to do a puja to Govardhana mountain itself, thinking, because that is a very important spot. Kuharatala nibishtam tvam garishtham girindraha, shiki kula nava keka kakubihi. Uta is kakubis stotrakari. So stotram. So who is saying the stotram here are the peacocks and the other birds which are actually on the Govardhana mountain. So they are cooing, and with that they are doing the stotram, and Govardhana is doing the archana with the flowers. Sputa kutaja kadamba toma pushpanjalim cha, Prabidhadat. So there are 3 dhas which are coming there. The third one you're going to put a it and a a. Prabidhadat anubheje, means easy to say it. Deva govardhanosau. Kuharatala nibishtam tvam garishtham girindraha. Shikikula navakeka kakubhistotrakari. Sputa kutaja kadamba stoma pushpanjalim cha. Pravidhadad anubheje deva govardhanosau.
कुहरतलनिविष्टं त्वां गरिष्ठं गिरीन्द्रः शिखिकुलनवकेका काकुभिस्तोत्रकारी स्फुटकुडजकदम्बस्तोमपुष्पाञ्जलिं च प्रविदददनुभेजे देवगोवर्धनोऽसौ कुहरतलनिविष्टं त्वां गरिष्ठं गिरीन्द्रः शिखिकुलनवकेका काकुभिस्तोत्रकारी स्फुटकुडजकदम्बस्तोमपुष्पाञ्जलिं च प्रविददनुभेजे देवगोवर्धनोऽसौ.
Baiju, that last line. Pravidadhat anubheje.
प्रविददत् अनुभेजे.
Yeah.
Okay.
गुहरतलनिविष्टं द्वां गृष्टं सिगिकुलग्रीन्दरः नवगेहा कागुभिस्तोत्रकारी स्फुटकुटज कदम्बस्तोमा पुष्पाञ्जलिं च प्रविदत् अनुपेजे देवगोवर्धनोऽसौ.
The last the line, Suganya said 3 dha sounds have to come. Pravidadhat anubheje.
Okay.
And then the first line, somehow I felt like you switched the words. Say it again, I'll stop you.
Kuharadala nivishtam dvam grishtam sahi kula girindra.
No. Okay, so after Garishtham Girindraha.
Oh, I think in Tamil book it's Garishtam Sahi Kula Girindra.
Okay, so Garishtham, after Garishtham Girindraha will come, comma.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then Shiki Kula.
Okay. Guharadala nivishtam dvam karishta girindaraha Shikikula navagega kagubistostrakari Sputa gudaja kadambastoma pushpanjalincha pravidat anubeje deva govarthanosau.
The fourth word, first line, adu mattum, just a word. Pravidhadat.
Okay. Pravidadat anubeje deva govarthanosau.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we'll just switch. Girish, you can be student. Divya, you can be student. Stanza 10. Ata sharadamupetam tam bhavad bhakta cheto vimala salila puram manayan kananeshu trinamamalavanante charu sancharayan gaha pavanapurapate tvam dehi me deha saukhyam. So it was summer. We saw the rainy season. So now the next year is beginning. They don't have a winter there in Vrindavan. So next season is beginning. Spring has come. So when the spring has come now, the fresh water, the streams, Yamuna is full of the fresh water coming from the mountains. And that reminds everybody of the pure heart. So Amala which is not, Trinam Amala Vanante. Malam is impure. So Amala is pure. So the pure heart of all the devotees. So the fresh water is coming, and then you all start grazing again. And the cycle continues. So it kind of just quickly wraps up how they spend the various time in that. So Gururappa, please eradicate my ailments and give me Deha Saukyam. Atha Sharadam Upetam Tam Bhavat Bhakta Cheto, then put a plus, Bimala Salila Puram Manayan Kananeshu. So those two lines together. Trinamamala Banante Charu Sancharayan Gaha, comma, Pavanapurapate Tvam Dehime Deha Saukyam. अत शरदमुपेतां तां भवद्भक्तचेतो विमलसलिलपूरां मानयन् काननेषु तृणममलवनान्ते चारु सञ्चारयन् गाः पवनपुरपते त्वं देहि मे देहसौख्यम्.
अथ शरदमुपेतां तां भवद्भक्तचेता चेतो विमलसलिलपुरां मानयन् काननेषु तृणममलवनान्ते चारु सञ्चारयन् गाः पवनपुरपते त्वं देहि मे देहि सौख्यम्.
Deha Saukyam, last word.
देहसौख्यम्. अथ शरदमुपेतां तां भवद्भक्तचेतो विमलसलिलपुरां मानयन् काननेषु तृणममलवनान्ते चारु सञ्चारयन् गाः पवनपुरपते त्वं देहि मे देहसौख्यम्.
अथ शरदमुपेतां तां भवद्भक्तचेतो विमलसलिलपुरां मानयन् काननेषु तृणममलवनान्ते चारु सञ्चारयन् गाः पवनपुरपते त्वं देहि मे देहसौख्यम्.
Half an hour in the class.
अथ शरदम् उपेतां तां भवद्भक्तचेतो विमलसलिलपुरां मानयन् काननेषु तृणममलवनान्ते चारु सञ्चारयन् गाः पवनपुरपते त्वं देहि मे देहसौख्यम्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, Dasakam 59. So you can't talk about Krishna and then not talk about Krishna playing the flute. So this entire Dasakam is devoted to Krishna just playing the flute, right? So it's Venugana Varnanam. And I'll give you some good reference of why that is important, right? Why Krishna playing the flute, what is the importance of that? So stanza 1. त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य सम्मुमुहुरन्वहं स्त्रियः. So it's continuous. Krishna is still a small boy, by the way, right? He's eventually he leaves to Mathura when he turns 10. So right now he's still 7 or something. So every day when this gopikas and everybody see you, they just feel like you're always fresh, like Nava Kalaya. Like a Kalaya is a blue lily. So you feel fresh like a blue lily. Blue, it is not exactly blue, it's dark gray, but blue gray, right? Around that color. And with that, every time they look at you, they feel fresh. Because at the end of the day, like it said in Dashakam stanza, the Dashakam 1 stanza 1 is, you are the supreme bliss who has taken the form of a human. So naturally, and every time people look at you, they feel that happiness and the bliss which is always there in your form. And with that, every time they were just enjoying you. These gopikas and all of them were just enjoying looking at you because you were just so pretty, and that freshness was always abundant in you every time. Tvad vapur nava Kalaya Komalam, comma, Prema Dohanam Ashesha Mohanam, Brahma Tattva Parachin Mudatmakam, comma, Vikshya Sammumuhuranvaham. You can say that whole word together. Sammu muhuranvaham striyah. So these gopikas were just always captivated with you. And there's going to be an entire 4-5 chapters devoted to the gopikas' relationship with Krishna, which we'll cover later. त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य सम्मुमुहुरन्वहं स्त्रियः.
त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य
Double mu irukku. So sammuhuranvaham.
सम्मुमुहुरन्वहं स्त्रियः त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य सम्मुहुर्वहन् स्त्रियः.
त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य सममुहुरन्वहं स्त्रियः. त्वद्वपुर्नवकलाय कोमलं प्रेमदोहनमशेषमोहनं ब्रह्मतत्त्वपरचिन्मुदात्मकं वीक्ष्य सममुहुरन्वहं स्त्रियः.
Answer 2. मन्मतोन्मतितमानसाः क्रमात् त्वद्विलोकनरतास्ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवनसेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिमप्यहर्मुखे. So with this, they were just always wanting to see you, Krishna, to the point that even when you were there and you were not with them, they were missing you. I mean, we have to think of who do we have such a relationship with, anybody for that matter, right? Maybe to some extent with your children when they are small, when they becomes teenagers, then they are always in their rooms. We can't even spend time, right? So, and then maybe when grandkids come, then grandfathers, parents have that relationship with their grandkids when they're small. But these gopikas always had that relationship with Krishna. They were always around him. They were always missing him, to the extent that even when he used to go out to graze every day morning, when they used to go out, then they used to really start missing him, right? So that viraha, that's why I was telling last time, the viraha, see, the love that comes when you're together versus the love that is there that when you're missing somebody, he says that viraha is going to be significant. For those of you, I don't know how many of you came to Vishaka Hari's Upanyasam last Sunday. So she was talking about Sita missing Rama in a similar way, saying that separation creates the miss that you have when you're separated is much more intense than the love you have when somebody is right next to you. So these gopikas used to miss Krishna so much when he used to out grazing that even then they used to be always thinking about him. Manmathon matita manasaha, put the ich sound, manasah kramat. So it's got a double it. So we're going to put a first it and comma, kramat. Tvad bilokana ratas tatas tatah gopikas tava na sehire hare, comma, kananopagatim. Can up to that ma, it's one word. Kananopagatim apyaharmukhe. मन्मतोन्मतितमानसाः क्रमात् त्वद्विलोकनरतास्ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवनसेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिमप्यहर्मुखे.
मन्मतो मतितमानसः क्रमात् त्वद्विलोकनरतास्ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवन सेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिम् अप्यहर्मुखे. मन्मथोन्मथितमानसाः क्रमात् त्वद्विलोकनरतास्ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवन सेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिम् अप्यहर्मुखे.
मन्मथोन्मथितमानसः क्रमात् ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवन सेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिमप्यहरमुखे. मन्मथोन्मथितमानसः क्रमात् तद्विलोकनरतास्ततस्ततः गोपिकास्तवन सेहिरे हरे काननोपगतिमप्यहर्मुखे.
And the first line, Divya, after that kramat, it is tvat vilokana, not tad.
Okay.
Tvad
Okay.
vilokana. Okay. Answer 3. Nirgate bhavati datta drishtayah त्वद्गते न मनसा मृगे क्षणाः वेणुनादमुपकर्ण्य धूरतः त्वद्विलासकतयाभिरेमिरे. So with this, when you used to leave Krishna, then they used to keep looking till the point then you disappear from their sight. And then, then they miss you through the entire day when you are actually in the forest. And then later on, when you're coming back, like we saw in the Dasakam 52, etc., when the boys play the flute, so they can listen to you playing the flute, and then they know you are actually coming back, and they all get very happy about it. So with that, they used to always be around you, thinking about you, and even when you are not there, they should be talking about you. And even when you're playing your flute in your house or anywhere else, they could always hear that. So they were constantly immersed in things around you. Nirgate bhavati datta drishtayah, that is goes away, visarga comma. Tvat gatena manasa mrigekshanaha venunadam upakarnya duratah, that is goes away, visarga comma. Tvat bilasa kathayabhiremire. So either they were talking about you, or they were listening to you, or they were seeing you. One of that, but they were constantly involved around that. Nirgate bhavati datta drishtayah त्वद्गते न मनसा मृगे क्षणाः वेणुनादमुपकर्ण्य धूरतः त्वद्विलासकथयाभिरेमिरे.
निर्गते भवति दत्तदृष्टयः त्वद्गतेन मनसा मृगे क्षणाः वेणुनाद उपकर्ण्य धूरतः त्वद्विलासकथायभिरेमिरे. कथयाभिरेमिरे. निर्गते भवति दत्तदृष्टयः त्वद्गतेन मनसा मृगे क्षणाः वेणुनादमुपकर्ण्य धूरतः त्वद्विलासकथयाभिरेमिरे.
निर्गते भवति दत्तादृष्टयः त्वद्गतेन मनसा मृगेक्षणाः वेणुनादमुपकर्ण्य दूरतः त्वद्विलासकथयाभिरेमिरे. निर्गते भवति दत्तदृष्टयः त्वद्गतेन मनसा मृगेक्षणाः वेणुनादमुपकर्ण्य दूरतः त्वद्विलासकथयाभिरेमिरे.
Divya, and the second word, first line, la bhavati, short e. I think you were stretching it. That's why it was not landing. So nirgate bhavati datta drishtayah.
Okay.
Okay. And the Sanskrit chandas, the short e and the long e, it changes the length of the sentence. So because this all follows a standard chandas, that's why you'll know that you are off because it's not landing properly,
Not
then you know
landing. The
somewhere
first line.
you added or removed some letter, one beat.
Yeah.
Stanza 4. काननान्तमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्यया कलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकाम्. So while this might sound like a very simple sentence, it's a simple stanza. It's actually a very powerful stanza. I'm just going to chant one stanza from Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about this. It's pretty big. It's 4 lines, right? And then I'll tell you the significance of Krishna's Venuganam. I'm going to look here. बर्हापीठं नटवरवपुः कर्णयोः कर्णिकारं बिभ्रद्वासः कनककपिशं वैजयन्तीं च मालां रन्ध्रान् वेणोरधरसुदया पृग्य पूरयन् यो गोपवृन्दैः वृन्दारण्यं स्वपदरमणं प्राविशद्गीतकीर्तिः. What it is describing is there's a story behind it. So when Vyasa had compiled, he had written he had Srimad Bhagavatam ready, but he had to give it to somebody because the Vedas he had given it to different people. He felt there was somebody who has to own Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 stanzas, but who is going to own it? He couldn't find the right person. His son was right, Shuka Brahman, but he was already renounced from the time he was born. And then he was just in the forest meditating all the time. So Vyasa once tells his people, his disciples, to say, go find him and come in the forest. So these people are like, but the forest is full of animals. There are all these animals in the forest. How do we go find somebody? We're afraid of all the animals. So Vyasa tells them this stanza and says, you go keep chanting this stanza when you're going inside the forest, right? Nothing will happen to you. So they end up chanting this, etc. Nothing happens. And then that's how they find Shuka Brahman and bring him back. It's a separate story. But what this is really talking about is, this is talking about Krishna wearing Krishna wearing a forest garland, Krishna standing under a tree, and then with his legs crossed, right? So there's a specific definition or image of how he's doing, right? He's standing under a tree, wearing that mala, having a peacock feather, standing cross-legged, and then playing his flute under the tree. That image of Krishna is this description, which is what these 2 stanzas of Narayanam is telling. And it says, and it's going to tell in the next few stanzas, by listening to that flute sound coming from Krishna's flute, the vibrations, the whole world comes to a standstill. So when they were going through the forest, by just constantly talking about it and saying this, even when the animals hear it, they are visualizing the form of Krishna standing under a tree and playing the flute, which means they know I have to come to a standstill. I cannot move, right? Everything comes to a standstill listening to Krishna's flute. That's the greatness or the vibration coming from the flute of Krishna, that everything pauses for a while. So that's what this is talking about. Krishna, you used to go and then stand in the forest, stand cross-legged under a tree, and then play the flute. And that was the image that even the Gopikas used to always be thinking about and remembering Krishna about, which is what this is talking about. Kananantam itavan bhavanapi, snigdha padapa tale manorame. So on the foot of the tree, vyatyaya kalita padam astitah, which means standing cross-legged, pratyapurayata venu nalikam. काननान्तमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्यया कलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकाम्.
काननान्तमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्ययाकलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकाम्. काननान्तमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्ययाकलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकाम्.
काननाथमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्यया कलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकाम् काननान्तमितवान् भवानपि स्निग्धपादपतले मनोरमे व्यत्यया कलितपादमास्थितः प्रत्यपूरयत वेणुनालिकम्
Venunalikam.
वेणुनालिकाम्
That's right. मारभानधुतखेचरीकुलं निर्विकार पशुपक्षिमण्डलं द्रावणं च दृशदामपि प्रभो तावकं व्यजनि वेणुकूजितम्. So the impact of this flute is different on different people. So he says Marabhana. So he says even Cupid, even Kamadeva, anybody who is like, for anybody who wants to fall in love, it says this will just trigger intense love in somebody who is actually listening to it. It says when Krishna used to go play the flutes there, even the animals, that's why him standing under that and playing is important, significant, because even the animals which are restless, they have a lot of tamasic energy in them, right? All of the restlessness will all get calmed down and they will all become very still, listening to Krishna playing the flute. So all the wild animals, the birds, all of those things. And says even the rocks, even Drishadhamapi, even the stones will melt listening to Krishna playing the flute. So what to talk about us as humans, right? Our heart will just melt listening to Krishna playing the flute, and that's the intensity of the vibration which is coming from the flute of Krishna. So that is, it'll remove all the distractions, get us really focused and really calm our minds. Mara Bana Dhuta Khechari Kulam, Nirvikara Pashu Pakshi Mandalam Dravanam cha drishadamapi prabho, tavakam vyajani venu kujitam. Marabana dhuta khechari kulham nirvikara pashupakshi mandalam dravanam cha drishadamapi prabho tavakam vyajani venu kujitam.
मारभाणदुतकेचरीकुलं निर्विकारपशुपक्षिमण्डलं द्रावणं च दृशधामपि प्रभो तावकं व्यजनि वेणुकूजितं मारभाणदुतकेचरीकुलं निर्विकारपशुपक्षिमण्डलं द्रावणं च दृशधामपि प्रभो तावकं व्यजनि वेणुकूजितम्
केचरीकुलं निर्विकार पशुपक्षिमण्डलं द्रावणं च दृशदामपि प्रभो तावकं व्यजनि वेणुकूजितम् केचरीकुलं निर्विकार पशुपक्षिमण्डलं द्रावणं च दृशदामपि प्रभो तावकं व्यजनि वेणुकूजितम्.
Answer 6. Venurandrataralangulidalam tala sanchalita pada pallavam tatstitam tava parokshamapyaho samvichintya mumuhur brajanganaha. So the image of Krishna standing under the tree, cross like playing the flute, but playing the flute also means, moving your fingers to cover the various holes, right? To kind of move your fingers around, as well as he used to tap his feet, right? That small feet he used to tap. So the thing is, most of the pictures talk about, you'll see an adult Krishna standing in the under the tree and doing it. That is a typical picture, right? Krishna left Vrindavan when he was 10 years old. Okay. So if anything which was representing that it's different. It's not that maybe he went to Madura and also did it, but he also moved to Dwaraka. But that specific picture I'm saying of standing under the tree, cross-legged, playing the flute is from Vrindavan. And that is of a boy Krishna, who's under 10 years old. So with that form of yours who's standing under the tree, the Gopikas, again, like we said earlier, they used to just keep thinking out of it. And even though they were not there all the time, that was just stuck in their mind. and they used to constantly imagine that form of yours and always keep appreciating about it, and they were always in a state of bliss thinking about that image of yours. Venu Randra Taralanguli Dalam, Tala Sanchalita Pada Pallavam Tat Stitam Tava Parokshamapyaho, Samvichintya Mumuhur Brajanganaha. Venurandhataralangulidalam Tala Sanchalita Pada Pallavam Tatsthitam Tava Parokshamapyaho Samvichintya Mumuhur Brajanganaha.
Venurandrataralangulidalam Talasanchalitapadapallavam Tatstitam tava
Parokshamapyaho
parokshamapyaho samvichintya vrajanganaha venurandrataralangulidalam talasanchalitapadpallavam Tatstitam tava parokshamapyaho samvichintya mumuhurvrajaganaha.
वेणुरन्ध्रतलाङ्गुलीदलं तालसञ्चलितपादपल्लवं तत्स्थितं तव परोक्षमप्यहो संविचिन्त्य मुमुहुर्व्रजान्गनाः वेणुरन्ध्रतरलाङ्गुलीदलं तालसञ्चलितपादपल्लवं तत्स्थितं तव परोक्षमप्यहो संविचिन्त्य मुमुहुर्व्रजान्गनाः.
Answer 7. Nirvishanka bhavadangadarshinihi khechari khagamrigan pashunapi tvatpada pranayikananam chataha dhanya dhanyamati iti nanvamanayan. So the Gopikas, they used to discuss saying that the cows, the gopi, they used to only see Krishna in the morning and the evening, but they say the boys are very lucky. The cows are very lucky as well, because the cows and the boys are always with Krishna, which means every time he's going to the forest and he's playing the flute, the cows and the boys are always blessed with it. They're always constantly hearing and they're constantly seeing, right? And they say even the deer which is in the forest, which has absolutely no knowledge, it's a lower consciousness compared to humans, right? But says even the deer is blessed because it doesn't understand what it is actually getting, right? It is standing in the forest, it is able to see Krishna, it is able to listen to the flute of Krishna with its ears, and all of them. And the cows are even lucky because they have a bigger ear. The cows have big ears, right? So it says the cows are big because they have bigger ears, so they can hear more of the flute sound coming out of Krishna. So with this, they keep comparing to everybody, saying the birds are lucky because the birds get an aerial view. We only get a straight view of Krishna, but the birds can go sit on the branch of a tree and they can now see Krishna from top down. They get an aerial view. But they say the most blessed is Mother Earth because he's always walking on the ground, which means his feet is always touching. So which is the Gopikas, which is comparing to everybody, saying each one is more blessed than us, because they are able to now access Krishna more easily than how we can access. Nirvi Shankar Bhavadanga Darshinihi, Khecharihi, put a Khechari Khaga Brigan Pashunapi Twat Pada Pranayi Kananam Chataha, Dhanya Dhanyamiti Nanvamanayan. So with that, they compare, saying how each one is, better, one better than the other. Nirvishanka bhavadanga darshinihi khechari khagamrigan pashunapi tvatpada pranayikananam chataha dhanya dhanyamiti nanvamanayan.
Nirvishanka bhavadanga darshinihi केचरीः खगमृगान् पशून् अपि त्वत् त्वत्पद त्वत्पदप्रणयिकाननं च ताः धन्यधन्यमिति नन्वमानयन् निर्विशङ्कभवदङ्गदर्शिनीः केचरीः खगमृगान् पशूनपि त्वत्पदप्रणयिकाननं च ताः धन्यधन्यमिति नन्वमानयन्
निर्विशङ्कभवदङ्गदर्शिनीः केचरिः खगमृगान् पशूनपि त्वत्पदप्रणयिकाननं च ताः धन्यधन्यमिति नन्वमानयन् मानयन् निर्विशङ्कभवदङ्गदर्शिनीः केचरिः खगमृगान् पशूनपि त्वत्पदप्रणयिकाननं च ताः धन्यधन्यमिति नन्वमानयन्
Sanjay, आपिभेयमदरामृतं कथा वेणुभुक्तरसशेषमेकधा दूरतो बत कृतं दुराशहेत्याकुला मुहुरिमा समामुहन्. Quickly tell. So they continue that saying, they compare everybody who is related to Krishna. He says not only are these birds, animals, and earth, everything lucky. Govardhana is lucky because it gives something of value to Krishna. It's giving, it gives fruits, it gives flowers, all of them, it's of value. Then it says here the blessed are the actual flute, the bamboo. Which actually is now Krishna the flute is made up of the bamboo. So that is blessed because Krishna is personally holding it. He's keeping it in his lips and then he's playing it. And then it says, but even more blessed are the forefathers of that bamboo, which means the bamboo tree from which the flute was actually made. Right? So for those of you who know Tamil, there's a very beautiful song called Pullangul Kudutha Moongil Gale, Engal Purushottaman Pugar Padangale. Very beautiful song. So it says the bamboo tree which gave the flute that Krishna is using, even that, please sing the praise of Krishna. So that's what little bit, they're saying, all of these people are so fortunate that they are all contributing to Krishna in some way. Apibheyam, breaking at that ma, Apibheyam adharamritam kada, comma, Venu bhukta rasa shesham ekada, Durato bata kritam. Then this line is going to be continuous. Durashayet yakula muhurimaha. Put is muhurima samamuhan. So that second line is continuous. Just Girish, Divya, repeat one time. Just 2 minutes left. Apibheyamadharamritam kadha venu bhuktarasasheshame kadha Durato batakritam durashayetyakulam muhurima samamuhan.
आपिबेयमधुरामृतं कदा वेणुभुक्तरसशेषमेकदा दूरतो बत कृतां दराशयेत्याकुला मुहुरिमाः समामुहन्.
And the first word, apibeyam adharamritam.
आपिबेयमधुरामृतं कदा. Okay.
आपिबेयमदरामृतं कदा वेणुभुक्तरसशेषमेकदा दूरतो बत कृतां दुराशये आकुला मुहरिमा समामुहन्.
Second line, durashayetyakula.
दूरतो बत कृतां दुराशयेत् आकुला मुहुरि.
You're saying durashayet yakula.
Yakula, okay.
Yeah, and then durashayeti akula, but then the ti and na becomes thya there. So durashayet yakula.
Yakula.
Yeah. All right, we'll stop the class here. Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. सान्ध्यानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालधीशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.
Yes.